Hi guys, my name is Chickpea and I am the founder of The Menu Prep, a plant-based meal prep service here in Los Angeles, California. I'm here today with our own, and I'm going to be making a stuffed sweet potato with garbanzo beans, spinach, and rosemary. So to begin the recipe, we're going to go through our ingredients. You're going to need your 2 sweet potatoes. You're going to need sea salt, black pepper. We're also going to be using turmeric, curry paste, powder, and smoked paprika. And then of course we're going to be using some garbanzo beans and spinach for the stuffing. So to start, you're going to have your 2 sweet potatoes that are already washed, and grab your sharpest knife. What you're basically going to do is just slice a little line down the center, and this is going to be the line that indicates where you're going to start the stuffing once it's done and out of the oven. After that, we're going to grab our olive oil, which you will need, as well as a fork. And with the fork, we're just going to create some holes so that when it's baking in the oven, all of the air can move through smoothly and it gets nice and soft. So once you have the slit and the holes in the sweet potatoes, I'm just going to drizzle some olive oil over those. A nice simple drizzle, doesn't need to be measured in any way. You just want to make sure it's coated so that as it cooks in the oven, the olive oil can seep into it, and it's going to, again, add to the taste when it's completed. So once those are stabbed and drizzled with olive oil, you're going to have your oven preset to 350, and ours has been warming up this entire time. I have also already lined it with aluminum foil. You can use aluminum foil for the sweet potatoes, or you can even use a baking tray, anything to hold them so that the oil is not dripping into your oven. We're going to pop these bad boys right into the oven, just as is, on the either baking tray or aluminum foil. And I put them on the lower rack, and those are going to bake for 45 to 55 minutes, depending on your oven and how hot it gets. We have a newer oven, so I'm going to do it for about 45 minutes. And I like to cook with a timer. So you can use a phone, or you can use a timer on your oven and just set it at 45 minutes. When those minutes are up and you need more time, you can kind of stick your fork in to know if it's ready and nice and soft. And if you need more time, feel free to add more time. So I'm going to set mine for 45 minutes. I'm going to let that cook on 350. We are going to go ahead and prep the garbanzo beans, which is going to be our stuffing once we split them open. Now, you also are going to need 2 cups of fresh spinach for this recipe. Now, the spinach does not need to be cooked as the garbanzo beans and the sweet potatoes do. We're going to cook the spinach actually with the heat from the sweet potato and the garbanzo beans and just let it wilt slowly. Cooking your spinach is honestly unnecessary. It's so thin, and you retain more of the nutrients when you just let it cook from the heat. So with that said, you're going to grab your garbanzo beans, and we're going to head over to the stove. Have our stove on a low heat. Throw some olive oil in the pan. Slowly move that around. Once the pan's hot and the olive oil's in, we're going to toss in our garbanzo beans. We're going to hear that pop. And then you start moving them around. Once the garbanzo beans are in, start with the seasoning, starting with some paprika. We're going to pop that open from whatever side wants to open. And we're going to drizzle in the paprika until it's coated a good amount of the garbanzo beans. Right from the paprika, we're going to go in with our curry powder and drizzle some curry powder on. I use about a teaspoon of each seasoning. And lastly, we're going to add some organic ground turmeric in there. Again, about a teaspoon of turmeric. And we're going to start moving this around. Also going to grab. Okay. So now we have our turmeric, we have our paprika, and we have our curry powder in here. We also just lost a garbanzo bean. Now we're gonna add in just a pinch of some black pepper, because the best way to activate the turmeric is actually with some heat, black pepper, and oil. So that will activate the turmeric so we get all the benefits from it. And then we're gonna also grab a pinch of salt and just work that in there. And I always say add salt and pepper to taste. And once we're finished and we go ahead with our plating, you'll be able to add more salt if need be at the end. So we're gonna let our garbanzo beans cook on low for about 10 to 15 minutes until they're nice and soft and tender, and you'll be able to notice that with the color. And in the meantime, we'll just wait for the sweet potatoes to get nice and soft for us. So we are letting these cook, marinate, saute in all that seasoning we just put in. It smells amazing. When you put turmeric, black pepper together and curry, it's just like, I wish you guys could smell this. That's what I'm trying to say. It smells great. And these are just gonna get nice and roasted. The color is gonna start to pop. You're gonna see the curry starting to come through with the paprika, the black pepper. And we're just gonna let those cook very, very slow so that when you bite into it with the spinach and the sweet potato, it's a nice, consistent spoonful. So our sweet potatoes are finished, but before we remove them from the oven, we're gonna jump over to our garbanzo beans. See how these are doing? Give them a nice stir. They're gonna get a little crispy, and that's exactly what you want, because that's gonna add that nice crunch with that soft sweet potato. I'm gonna turn off our garbanzo beans, and I'm going to grab our spinach, and we're gonna throw that in right on the top. And now as the garbanzo beans cool and all that steam rises, it's gonna cook the spinach perfectly for us. So, and I'll just set that back, and we'll just let it slowly start to wilt. And let's grab our sweet potatoes out of the oven, and let's start stuffing. So we'll lay these right on our cutting board. And once I feel out how hot they are, then I'll remove them from the aluminum foil and place them onto the cutting board. I don't want anyone burning themselves. Just gonna quickly move those over and dispose of the aluminum foil. Once you take them off the aluminum foil, you're gonna feel the softness, and that's a very good thing. Now you know that they are completely cooked from the inside out. Now they're gonna be nice and soft to eat and very easy to plate. So right before I turned off our garbanzo beans, I went ahead and added a lid so that it can trap all of that heat, and that's what's gonna wilt our spinach. So now that our spinach is wilted just perfectly, we are gonna go ahead and do the most exciting part, and we're gonna stuff it. So your sweet potatoes should be nice and cool so we can go ahead and have some fun. We have that slit that we did in the beginning that's gonna be our gateway for starting, and we're just gonna pipe down into that. Now, feel free to use a fork if you need to grab a grip. And what I like to do is just slowly start to open it and just pulling the fork and the knife away from each other. But as I'm doing that, I'm pushing in the sweet potato so it kind of has that fluffy base where I'm gonna be able to stuff everything. And then when you take a bite, you get a bite of the sweet potato, the garbanzo beans, and the spinach. And once you have that kind of churn in the inside, your sweet potato will look like this once it's ready. And that's where we're just gonna add all that stuffing. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the other sweet potato. We're basically creating a bowl, like I said, to add in the garbanzo beans and the spinach. So let's get to it. So we have here our garbanzo beans and our spinach that has been wilted. We sauteed our garbanzo beans with paprika, turmeric, curry, salt, and pepper. So they're just full of flavor, which is amazing. Before I go ahead and stuff, again, I'm just gonna just kind of push it to the limit of opening before it splits. And then slowly, I'll just add it in right from the pan, no special technique, and you just stuff it until you can't stuff it anymore. And with the same on the other one. You may lose a few garbanzo beans in the process. That is okay. Cooking is never a clean process. So, gonna use our hands. We're really gonna get that in there. Open it up, push down. The only technique you're really using at this part is just pushing and slightly breaking apart. But remember, this is a baked potato. It is very weak, so it will just split on you. There we go. So now they are stuffed. Let's grab a beautiful plate and gently place our stuffed sweet potatoes side by side. And our final touch is going to be some pink Himalayan sea salt, lightly sprinkled across the top, and followed by some fresh rosemary to garnish. And what I like to do is kind of nestle that rosemary in there, and it will just stay perfectly for you. And again, nestle that baby in there. And we have our stuffed sweet potatoes with garbanzo beans, spinach, Himalayan sea salt, and fresh rosemary. Let's see what this tastes like. You always gotta get a bite with every ingredient on it. And if you're gonna use your hands, use your hands. Wow. Wow. Huh. This is amazing. It's a great combination with the sweet potato, the garbanzo beans, and the spinach. Adds a nice fresh accent to it. Very filling and very nutritious, which is a perfect combination. And I think you guys will very much enjoy this meal.